The moment the billionaire stepped out of her car and held her son's small hand, she felt the familiar armor of wealth settle around her shoulders, thick, invisible, and heavy. The restaurant's glass doors reflected a perfect picture of success: tailored coat, calm smile, polished confidence. But inside her chest, something old and restless stirred, because this dinner was supposed to be a celebration of survival, not status. She had promised herself one simple thing tonight: to be present, to remember where she came from, and to teach her child that money was never the measure of a heart. If you believe stories about kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles, take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Grandma's Book. Your support helps these stories travel to the people who need them most. The dining room glowed with daylight spilling through wide windows, soft and honest, catching on white tablecloths and silverware. The billionaire, named Celeste Moreno, chose a corner table where her son Luca could watch the city move. Celeste had built a logistics empire from the ground up after losing everything in her 20s. She had learned how to be efficient, decisive, and unshakable. What she had never learned was how to stop noticing pain when it crossed her path. And pain crossed her path that afternoon, wearing worn sneakers and carrying a tray too heavy for one hand. Across the room sat a single father named Aaron Cole, his posture careful, as if he were afraid to take up space. His daughter, Hazel, small and bright-eyed, clutched a children's menu like a treasure map. Aaron's shirt was clean but thin, his hands rough, his smile practiced. He checked prices twice, then folded the menu as though tucking away a fear. The waitress paused longer than necessary at their table, her polite expression strained, and Celeste saw the quiet calculation pass between them: the cost of joy measured in dollars. Celeste tried to turn back to her son, but Luca's gaze had already followed hers. Children see what adults train themselves to ignore. Luca leaned forward, curious, absorbing the scene without judgment. Celeste felt the old ache return, the memory of sitting in places she could not afford, of choosing water because it was free, of smiling so her child would not notice hunger. She had been Aaron once, and she knew how heavy that invisibility felt. The food arrived at Celeste's table first, fragrant and abundant. Luca laughed at the steam curling upward, and for a moment she allowed herself to breathe. Across the room, Aaron asked Hazel to choose something small. Hazel nodded bravely, tracing pictures with her finger. When the waitress left, Aaron exhaled like someone surfacing from deep water. Celeste watched his shoulders sag, the way hope shrank when it had to fit a budget. Time stretched. Celeste's phone buzzed with updates from boardrooms and markets, but she silenced it. She had learned the cost of missing moments. Hazel's eyes followed plates as they passed, not with envy but with wonder. Aaron tore his bread in half and pushed the larger piece toward her. The generosity of the gesture struck Celeste harder than any business loss ever had. She felt a choice rising, not loud or dramatic, but firm. The kind of choice that reveals who you are when no one is asking. Celeste stood, smoothing her coat, and crossed the room. She did not carry pity with her, only recognition. She stopped near their table, her presence gentle, daylight catching the kindness she no longer tried to hide. What she did next was unbelievable, not because it was extravagant, but because it was human. Celeste asked the manager to add their entire meal to her table and insisted it be done quietly, without announcement. Then she ordered dessert for Hazel, something bright and joyful, and asked that it be presented as a gift from the kitchen. She returned to her seat, heart racing, hoping the kindness would land softly, but the story did not end there. Celeste noticed the way Aaron stiffened when the waitress returned, smiling wider than before. She saw confusion turn to disbelief, and then to something dangerously close to tears. Hazel clapped when dessert arrived, sunlight dancing in her curls. Aaron pressed his palms together, grounding himself. He looked around, searching for a reason, and his eyes met Celeste's across the room. There was no speech, no explanation. Celeste simply nodded, the way one survivor nods to another. Luca watched, learning a lesson no classroom could teach. When they finished eating, Celeste asked the manager for a pen and wrote a note, folding it once. She left it with the bill she paid, a message that did not offer charity but opportunity, a connection to a foundation that helped single parents find stable work and childcare. Not a promise, but a door. Outside, the afternoon remained bright and ordinary, as if nothing remarkable had happened. But inside Aaron's chest, something shifted. Hazel skipped beside him, sugar-sweet and laughing. He held the folded note like a fragile hope. Across the street, Celeste buckled Luca into the car, her hands steady, her eyes wet. She knew that true wealth was not what she could buy, but what she could change.